What's going on, y'all? This is OJ back with another video. Today, I've completely ran out of ideas, so I think it's time for me to release my top 15 pound for pound tier list. There are 15 fighters I will go out of my way to glaze the fuck out of and defend till I no longer upload videos. Some of these guys are fan favorites, while others are more of a niche pick. But regardless, these are my favorite fighters, and we're gonna jump straight into the video. Coming in at number 15, I have Joshua Van. Joshua Van represents short kings around the world because this dude fights like an absolute savage, despite only being 5 feet 5 inches tall. With women's strawweight arm reach, Joshua Van will probably fuck up anyone watching this video. Also, the fact that this guy is fighting for Myanmar to be represented in the UFC is sick, and I find that admirable to do. The only negative I have about being a Joshua Van fan is watching his fights, especially in the first round, can be rough. Every Joshua fan knows that watching Van fight in the first round is very taxing on the soul. He gets dropped, wobbled, taken down, controlled, like you name it. It's very bad for Joshua Van in the first round, let's just put it that way. But once that first round is over, this is the dopamine hit that every Van fan is waiting for because Joshua Van will proceed to fuck anybody up on the feet, unless it's Charles Johnson. I also love the fact that he bumps Chief Keef as his walkout songs because it just strangely fits this dude. Overall, a very chill guy who can just casually beat up 8% of the population despite only being 5 feet 5 inches tall. And I think there is a lot of respect I have for Joshua Van overall. Next, we have Esteban Ribovics. Again, this guy is also incredibly fun to watch. I just love how he disregards defense while managing to throw 400 strikes in 15 minutes. This is very similar to Joshua Van, but at lightweight. Might not be as nearly technical, but I like Ribovics slightly more because Ribovics has a lot more finishing potential. And let me just say, I was fucking pissed that he lost that decision to Nasrat Hakparas. First off, Ribovics should have won that fight based off round two on activity. But even if you disagree, let's be honest, nobody gives a fuck about Hakparas. Regardless of the result of that fight, I will continue rooting for Ribovics as one of the upcoming prospects in the lightweight division because this guy can push a pace and make it exciting, uh, especially in rounds two and three. For number 13, I'm going to have to go with Caio Borralho. I'm going to be honest, out of all the fighting nerds, I think he's my favorite. And don't get me wrong, I love Carlos Prates, Jan Silva, and Mauricio Rufi, but the thing that separates Borralho from the rest is the fact that I can say Borralho is actually a nerd. Like Carlos Prates is out here like smoking cigs, drinking whiskey. Jean Silva is just autistic and I love it. Mauricio Rufi is Conor McGregor, but Brazilian. Caio Borralho is the one guy that really sticks out like a nerd compared to the rest. Now, the only reason I don't have him as high up on my list as I want him to is because of what happened when he fought Jared Cannonier. And don't get me wrong, I know Borralho was just doing his job trying to finish the fight, but as someone who also likes Jared Cannonier, who's going to be featured later in this video, part of me died watching Borralho basically kill Cannonier before reviving him back from the dead, only to try to kill him once more. But regardless, Borralho's style is also very fun. I like the way he jumps around, and he's got a very good southpaw jab, which not a lot of people are able to capitalize on. I think after a few years, when all the old guys of the middleweight division are gone, Borralho will be a lot higher on my list. But right now, because the Cannonier fight is still fresh on my mind, he's going to have to stay low on my list for now. For number 12, I'm going to have to give it to Jared Cannonier. Dude has been a staple of the middleweight division for the longest time. All the man does is put on amazing main events at the Apex, and the fact that he is still going at 40 years old is so impressive. And even though I thought he was cooked against Gregory Rodriguez, the fact that Cannonier won that fight really put a smile on my face because I'm going to be completely honest, I thought it was it for Cannonier. But what makes me really root for Cannonier more than anything is how dirty the UFC have done this guy. He could have got a title shot But unfortunately, the UFC does not like him whatsoever. He was fighting Nasruddin Imavov when Jason Herzog essentially stepped in for no fucking reason because Cannonier got wobbled by one punch. It's hard for me to see Cannonier get it back into title contention, but if a fight with Cannonier and DDP ever happens, I will be fully on board no matter who wins. All right, for number 11, we're going to have Do Ho Choi. He's Korean, and I'm Korean. Enough said, really. Okay, but for real though, he's actually very talented, and I think he can have competitive fights with a lot of the guys at the top of the featherweight division right now. Crispy boxing, crazy judo throws, and a pretty good submission game. I don't know why people aren't all that high on Duo Choi, and it makes me mad. He looked awesome in his fight with Nate Landwehr, who's a very good fighter outside of the featherweight rankings. But what I like most about uh, Duo Choi is the fact that he isn't dumb like the other Korean guys. Most Korean guys here in the UFC all believe that they are TKZ because all they do is trade hooks in the pocket. Do Ho Choi is one of the few exceptions, which I really appreciate. He's not trying to copy TKZ's style word for word, and he's actually showing technical ability. Depending on who the UFC gives this guy, I think he can make another title run. Realistically, probably somewhere around the top 10, but depending on the matchups, maybe the top 5. Regardless of who they put in front of him, I will most likely root for Do Ho Choi. And coming in at number 10, Roman Kopylov. I have so much fun watching Roman Kopylov fight because this guy is essentially a Russian Terminator. If you want to watch a straight up high level kickboxer on the rise, Kopylov is your guy. Variety of shots this guy has is unparalleled in the upper weight classes. Wicked fast kicks, knees, punches, and his counters are pretty nice as well. He's one of the rare cases where I don't need this guy to really say much on the mic. His fights speak for themselves, and in a way, his lack of personality really captures the Terminator vibes I get from the dude. If he can get into the top of the division, I'm fully on board. But if he doesn't, then it won't change my feelings regarding Kopylov because he's fun to watch regardless. At number 9, I'm gonna have to put Ilya Taporia. This guy has really won me over since the Volkanovski knockout because he put his whole career on the line for that moment by replicating Conor McGregor from 2015. And plus, he is a great trash talker, and that is something I can always appreciate when it comes to UFC champions because these press conferences can be dull as shit. Ilya Taporia knows how to entertain the crowd without having it being cringy. The only thing I don't like about Taporia is his activity because even before he got the belt, it wasn't like he was crazy active. At best, he was probably fighting once every 6 months. Regardless, when he does fight, I'm on the edge of my seat for that week because I know Topuria is gonna put someone's lights out during that fight day. Uh, and we're gonna move on to number 8, Mateusz Rebecki. I was a fan of this guy when he was bulldozing through the bottom tier section of the lightweight division. However, his fight with Maitabek Orobai secured him a spot as one of my favorite fighters of all time. If you haven't checked that fight out, make sure to do so because that was arguably fight of the year in 2024. I was really happy for him, especially because I thought Rebecca was cooked coming out of that fight with Carlos Diego Ferreira. And Orobai was on a tear, and he had a lot of fan support because of the fact that he looked like a caveman. But my goodness, Rebecca looked better than ever, and the fact that he was able to bounce back from that fight with Carlos Ferreira to break Orobai's face was insane to watch. Out of all the unranked lightweight prospects, this guy is probably my favorite by far. I know I'm high on a lot of other prospects like Esteban Ribovics and Ludovic Klein, but Rebecca is different in my opinion because he's on smoke 24/7 compared to Ribovics, who does need a little bit of more time to start the engines. We're going to move on to number 7, Tom Aspinall. This guy's mere presence in the UFC has scared John Jones into near retirement, and that's enough for me to secure him into my pound for pound favorite fighters tier list. I cannot wait for the day that Tom Aspinall sleeps John Jones out cold because Aspinall is the divine hammer of justice that will get rid of the plague known as John Jones once and for all. But even disregarding the fact that he will be the one to retire John Jones, he is very good at fighting in the heavyweight division. This makes me really appreciate Aspinall because he's not this fat fuck with one punch knockout power or this athlete who came from another sport only to show zero technique in martial arts. Aspinall is a true mixed martial artist, and it's incredible to watch a guy like Aspinall do what he can do in the UFC octagon. All right, number six, I have Charles Oliveira. When I first started watching MMA back in the COVID days, he was probably my favorite fighter by far. This guy made jiu-jitsu not look gay to the casual audience. That is really hard to do. Like this was before I was even training in jiu-jitsu, and I thought jiu-jitsu was cool when I watched Oliveira fight. And most of all, just his story about how he went from being a paralyzed cripple to a champion and legend of the UFC is one of the most inspirational stories ever told. If he ever has to fight Islam Makhachev once more, just know I will start saying Oliveira will beat Makhachev in the rematch if that fight ever gets announced. Is that pure delusion? Probably, but I believe in Charles do Bronx because the champion has a name, and his name is Charles Oliveira. Coming in at number five, someone you probably wouldn't even think about usually when people are talking about their favorite fighters. I'm here to talk about Arnold Allen. This guy is autistic and I love it. In a lot of ways, he reminds me a lot about myself because I used to be a very awkward and timid guy like he is. But when he gets in the cage, holy fuck, get ready for a complete 180 because this guy is completely crazy. No regard for defense. No easy paths to victory by outgrappling opponents who can't grapple. He is looking to clean your head off every second of the fight, and it will be straight up with you when it comes to trying to brutalize his opponents. I love it when Allen is following this meticulous game plan, but the second he hurts his opponents, he says, fuck all that game plan and let me just throw some big meaty hooks. He is open at times for counters, but then he manages to recover. And what I find most fascinating about Arnold Allen is that even though he is tired, he still manages to throw more shit than when he looks fresh out there. I think it's hard for him to become a world champion, but I would love if he could win a belt someday. Even though he has Leon Edwards level mic skills, he is so fun to watch in the cage. And when you're not putting him in front of a crowd of a large crowd, he's very funny to listen to because the guy is just crazy. That's all I can say about Arnold Allen. I'm going to buy his merch someday, and we're going to move on to the next fighter. Coming in at number four, our African king, Dricus Duplessis. This guy deserves to be treated as a national hero of the middleweight division. Now, at first, I did not appreciate him whatsoever because I thought Sean Strickland won their first fight. But now, I do not give a shit because he is actually fun to watch, unlike Sean Strickland. You know, people give shit about Dricus Duplessis' technique, but the fact that DDP makes it work is quite artistic. It's not the prettiest, but you can tell that this guy gives it his all. It's not the prettiest, but you can tell that this guy is looking for the finish 5 straight rounds, trying his absolute best. You rarely see anyone like Dricus Duplessis who will just outdog anyone as he goes up against championship level fighters. Also, he's got some really petty trash talk, and I love it. Whether he's talking in live press conferences or he's tweeting shit, this guy's delivery is on point, and I think a lot of fighters can learn from DDP regarding trash talk because he's one of the best in the sport by far. Every DDP press conference and fight is must see TV, and I'm fully on board that if he gets a few more title defenses, he will probably be the best middleweight of all time. I'm rooting for him to achieve middleweight GOAT status, if not second best. I really hope he beats Chimaev because having DDP as champ, in my opinion, will make things a lot more fun compared to Hamza Chimaev. The only matchup that, if he loses, I won't lose sleep over is against Baralo, but I think that's going to be for a while. So let's see what the future holds for both of these guys. But either way, I will be rooting for DDP at least for the next few years. Moving on to Peter Yan. This guy has everything Roman Kopylov has, but at bantamweight skill level, so it's 10 times more enjoyable. If he has to fight Marab Davalishvili again, I'm going full on delusion and picking Peter Yan to win. Uh, the first fight never happened. If you bring up that fight in my comment section, you are permanently banned. Plus, Peter Yan has started speaking English and he's opened himself up more to the fans. I used to think that Peter Yan is this Siberian Terminator who is just out there to kill anyone he goes up against. But now that he has some losses, he took some time to rebuild, and the fact that he features his sons a lot more in his stories and interviews, I actually like Peter Yan more. Pookie Bear Yan fans rise up because Yan will be the Bantamweight champion by 2026. Go fuck yourself, Marab fans. Nobody wants to see Marab as the champion over our Pookie Bear Peter Yan because Peter Yan is well rounded. He is the most well rounded fighter on the roster right now, and you can't tell me otherwise because nobody has a deeper tool bag than Peter Yan. We're going to move on to number two. He's an OG of the sport, Dustin Poirier. I think I started this page when Poirier got Darst. Not gonna lie, not a great first week for me, but man, did Poirier really show out in this fight against Islam Makhachev. And don't get me wrong, Poirier always shows out, but let's be honest, most of us were probably thinking Poirier was gonna get Darst in the first round or two. But the fact that Poirier did as well as he did for 5 rounds really impressed me. And even though Makhachev proved to be the much more technical and better fighter of that night, let's I don't really care because Poirier is the more entertaining out of the two. The way he fights, the way he presents himself before and after the fight, and the fact that he liked one of my IG reels back in the day. Everything Poirier does for the sport, I have always appreciated. Now that Poirier is looking for one more fight, I want to see this man get a dub before leaving the UFC. I don't want to see Poirier get knocked out by Topuria. If Poirier knocks out Poirier, I'm going to hate Topuria forever. Just knock out Arman Sarukian for all I care, or fuck off back to bantamweight. I'm sorry, featherweight at that point. Just give Poirier someone I can say, oh, he has a decent chance against. And regardless if he wins or not, I will dedicate a whole fucking video for his last fight once it has been announced. I love Dustin Poirier, and you can't tell me otherwise. Coming in at number one, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Mark my words, he will be the welterweight champion soon. He's vicious, he's powerful, and arguably the most well-rounded fighter in the welterweight division. People are acting like all Shavkat did against Ian Gary was hold him up against the fence like what Mario Bautista did to Jose Aldo. And if you are one of those people, you are wrong because Shavkat clearly outstruck Ian Gary majority of the times this fight took place on the feet. Am I saying that he's this unbeatable force in the division? No, but out of all the top fighters at welterweight, Bilal Muhammad, Leon Edwards, Jack de la Maddalena, Joaquin Buckley, Sean Brady, Ian Gary, who is the most likely to dominate the entire division? Exactly, it's Shavkat Rakhmonov, 19 and 0 with 18 finishes, 10 submissions, and 8 knockouts. Oh, but Ian Gary almost choked out Shafkat. Okay, and did he choke him out? Exactly. There's a reason why the word almost always comes out before the words choked out when you are describing that fifth round. All I have to say is that the winner between Bilal Muhammad and JDM better keep that belt warm for the reincarnation of Genghis Khan, because Rachmanov is going to put up a y'all must have forgot type of performance against either of these guys. He's also got one of the best Twitter pages when it comes to trash talk, because who else could pull off Thanos quotes like Shavkat and not make it look cringe? Exactly. Yeah, Rachmanov farms aura, but unlike most other prospects, the way Rachmanov does it is fucking sick, both in and out of the cage. We are coming for Bilal Muhammad or JDM by the end of this year. Mark my words. All right, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about all of these fighters I have on my list. And also let me know who your favorite fighters are. Other than that, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.